We have another amazing show for you today and two terrific space industry experts here with us today. Welcome to the Tech and Space Leader Show, where we learn lessons from leaders of the next frontier. I am your host, Lisa Dreher, and I'm really excited to introduce our guests for today, Larry Rubin and Tony Colucci, who are co-founders and general partners at Quest Space Capital. Thank you for joining us here today, Tony and Larry.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Lisa.
Lisa. It's good to be here.
Absolutely. So I would love to start by having you both just give us a little bit of background on yourselves and then talk a little bit about Quest Space Capital.
Larry, why don't you start?
Well, I'll jump in. I've been in the space industry my whole career. I started down in El Segundo, California at Hughes Space and Com, which became Boeing. Started as a system engineer on the Galileo probe program to Jupiter, which was a great start, very exciting program, very successful. Led to different management roles at Hughes and Hughes Communications, and then I moved up to Space Systems Loral in the mid-90s, mostly program management for large geostationary communication satellites. And then I did enterprise improvement at the company and for other companies for a while. In 2018, I left SSL to become a independent consultant, and have been doing that ever since. We had a foray into a startup called SpaceLink, which was a great company, but didn't quite manage to have the anchor investor see it through the space valley of death, and that lasted about 2 years. And now we stood up Quest Space Capital about a year ago, and we're starting to do the work for our investors and our targets in earnest this coming year.
Fantastic. How about you, Tony?
Well, my career has paralleled Larry's in a lot of ways. Well over 40 years in space since graduating from college. I've done classified engineering work, did work on the civil side, also worked on the Galileo program, but supporting the imaging team as opposed to the probe. And then transitioned into business development and strategy, working at Hughes in El Segundo and at Space Systems Loral, domestically, internationally, civil, commercial, government. And like Larry he and I were the partners who started SpaceLink. And I had the good fortune within Loral to do a couple of other startups, one of which was very successful, one of which a little less so. And so a broad background that I hope is good for our current undertaking.
Wow, fantastic. So tell us a little bit about Quest Space Capital.
Quest Space Capital is a venture capital firm. We invest in startups from Series B as early as seed rounds as well. So early stage young companies. We're an operational fund. We have a great team. That's our greatest asset, where we can help our targets succeed across the range of challenges in space. And we also, with that team, can protect our investors' funds and do a better return than we normally would than a normal VC could in an investment. We just started, and we're looking forward to the next year. The tailwinds are great in the industry, and we're excited to launch it.
Yeah, I might pick up there, Lisa. The tailwinds are terrific, not just in the industry, but broadly. First of all, I think people recognize that the space economy is the fastest growing economy in the world, even though it isn't in the world. And the current rush to increase national budgets for national security is also going to accelerate that growth, because a lot of that money goes to space. And then finally, when you consider that as an asset class, space is not correlated with other asset classes like retail or pharmaceutical or whatever you may think of, that makes it a good way to diversify an investment portfolio. So that broad tailwind, along with the tailwinds within the industry, makes the timing, I think, very good. And so as we now step into actually raising the fund, we're looking forward to a pretty good environment.
Wow, amazing. Why do you think it is that the space industry doesn't follow, I guess, the rest of the investment markets?
Well, in my view, it's the drivers are completely different, right? Retail is a consumer oriented market and market segment. Um, Industrials are, industrial here on Earth. Precious metals are, driven by need to have support for backstopping investment decisions. Space is a combination of multiple other market segments, but with an entirely different focus. And hence, I think it's natural that it would be uncorrelated with the other investment classes.
Ah, interesting. So Quest Space Capital focuses on the new space economy. What are you seeing as the key trends or technological advancements that are sort of driving your investment process?
Well, over the last 5, 10, 15 years, a dramatic change was the access to space for satellites. SpaceX and the Falcon 9 significantly lowered the costs to get to orbit. Back in the early days of the industry, it would take very large uh, uh, industry and governments to be able to get into space. And over the last decade, the access to space has become much more affordable. And so that opened up tremendous opportunities for smaller companies with innovative ideas. That's the main trend that I think we've seen in the industry over the last couple of decades. Um, and then there's new applications that are being exploited by commercial companies in electro optics. New push to go into the moon. Space tourism is now much more accessible than before. It's still expensive, but that's another area that is changing in today's environment.
I would add that the sheer number of people of all ages working to create new initiatives moving into space is also a factor because they're competitive. They have bright ideas. Each sees what the other is doing, is encouraged by it. And so there's a snowball effect that's building as we speak.
Yeah. So, how is the thesis that you are following different from other VCs that may be investing in the space market?
I would highlight our team. We have an amazing team with a breadth and depth of experience and expertise that is unequaled, as far as I know, amongst any of the space VCs. And that enables us to do two things. Number one, we can identify the best opportunities, those startups that have a idea that's needed in the marketplace, that have the right team to bring it to fruition, et cetera. And then number two, we can accelerate the growth of those startups because we have the knowledge and expertise that can support them in various areas where they need it. And we have the connectivity to potential customers and users and the marketplace in general.
Great. When you're looking at potential investments, what are the most important criteria that you are looking at and evaluating?
The first thing that we look at is the team. What's their background? What's their motivation? What's their knowledge? Can they listen? And in a startup, there's many pivots along the way to success. And if you don't have a flexible, smart team to be able to do those pivots, then you're doomed to fail. So that's the number one thing that we look at. The second thing is it a real business? Space is quite sexy, and there's a lot of interesting technology. Engineers love to build new things. However, unless it's a business and there's a customer that you're filling a need for, then you're going to go nowhere. So we look to see how the business is actually going to succeed, and is there a line of sight into revenue and sales and growth over time.
I would add a thought there on the team because this is far and away the most important part of any startup. The founding team in space and technology fields, it has to be a minimum of two people and preferably three or even more. And they have to have complementary strengths and they have to have deep knowledge of the industry they're trying to enter. You can't really get into space if your background is some other industry. It doesn't work, and you got to have enough people to do the work, which is a lot more than 80 hours a week, for one or two or three people.
Yeah, right, right. So I think that in general, space has been considered as a risky investment market. How do you work to, I guess, de-risk the investments that you're making?
Well, that's a good question, and that's one of the reasons why we come with a unique perspective. Is it's a Space is unforgiving, and you can't fool Mother Nature in the types of systems you put into space. So you need the technical background to understand what it takes, what the environment is like, and besides that, there's a lot of regulatory and business aspects that are unique to space. So you need the background to really understand the unique challenges of a space system. And so that's what it takes with a broad team. No one individual will have that. And it's great to have a large, broad, and deep team in order to allow for a successful enterprise.
Yeah. Okay. So the space value chain, right? I mean, it goes all the way from launch to satellite manufacturing to in orbit services, analytics. I mean, so many things, Earth observation. Where on the spectrum do you see the highest potential return right now?
I think for us, the various segments of the value chain all play together. And the real question is where in the chain is there a problem that needs to be solved, that needs to be addressed, and who has the right or the best, the optimal solution, and the team able to implement that solution. So, frankly, from my perspective, I don't see that there's any one segment that has got a better potential for return than another. There are one or two that may be a little bit crowded, but I think what we want to do is we want to look, make sure that the need is there, make sure the solution is right, make sure the team is right, and then we think there is value on every part of the chain.
One area that's perhaps not the best segment of profitability, but one area that provides assurance of business going forward are applications that have dual use for governments, for defense, as well as commercial. It provides a little bit more assurance that your products will be sold and that they have customers that meet the need. The cycles of spending in defense are up and down, and the commercial markets also go up and down depending on markets and interest rates and appetite and availability of capital. So if there's a dual use application, that gives it a little boost in the ability to succeed in the marketplace.
Absolutely. Right. So the space industry is global, clearly. And how do you, I guess, how do you see different areas, regions, countries addressing the space market?
Well, I think that we're seeing today interest in space is broad now. We see it around the world uh, to a greater extent than we have in the past. And we see that for a number of reasons strategic, commercial, etc. For our purposes, we're focused on US and allied nations, Australia, UK, Canada, Japan, etc., around the world, the European countries because this is where our technologies can be applied in a way that is positive, has a positive effect on our society, and helps the world progress as a whole. And this is also where we have the most ability to manage various regulatory aspects that come into play that you need to make sure that you're addressing and complying with.
Right. In general, I think a lot of space startups, they get to that prototype phase, but then have a challenge kind of crossing that chasm or getting over the valley of death, whatever you want to call it. But how can you help these companies cross that chasm?
So I would say the singular most important element that I've observed in crossing the valley of death, the chasm of death, is having line of sight to revenue with customers. That is, if you can demonstrate that you have customers, maybe they're signed up, maybe on a contingent contract basis, maybe in a cooperative basis. There are many ways with government, both defense and civil agencies, that you can have early engagement. But having that line of sight to the customer and the revenue is key, and the breadth and depth of our team facilitates that. I mean, there's always somebody on the team who knows exactly where this technology or this product or this service fits and can make the connection to the right office door to knock on.
Yeah. What do you see as the, I guess, best or most optimal exit opportunities that are available today?
Well, it depends on the size of the company that's exiting. As I said, we're investing in seed to Series B companies, and we would love to have IPOs in these companies, initial public offerings, which has a large return. But more common is mergers and acquisitions of the companies into the larger ecosystem, into second tier, and even prime contractors for these companies that have innovative solutions for various aspects of the space industry, and into various other primes that specialize in areas where these companies come with innovative technology or a team that really can help the larger company.
Yeah. The industry, space industry, seems to really require a specialized workforce. What do you see in terms of talent gaps right now?
Mhm.
I would say that there's a very significant space workforce already exists. As you know, the country has been advancing in a number of areas for decades, for generations. What we see is that startups always have gaps in expertise. They simply can't afford to have a staff of 30 people in an early stage startup so they can address every segment. And this is yet another area where the breadth and depth of our team is supportive. Number one, we can help fill gaps on a short term basis. And number two, we can identify candidates to fill gaps in a long term way. And this is one of the significant ways that we can help accelerate companies' success.
Great, great.
Another challenge I think the space industry has is other competing industries. Uh, the market is difficult for engineering talent, management talent, and they they pay very well. And in space, a lot of if you're in a manufacturing company, you're required to go in and turn the screw. And a lot of the workforce are not interested in going into the workplace anymore. So that's a challenge that a lot of startups are seeing if they're in the manufacturing side of the business.
And
Yeah.
I would add one last point. I'd like to say thanks to Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson. They've made space interesting again, and the others who are doing interesting and exciting things. They've made space interesting and exciting, like it was when Larry and I started in our careers. And we see young people who want to come in just because they want to get involved in space because they think it's cool, which is wonderful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you both for being here today. If someone wanted to learn more about Quest Space Capital, what should they do?
Go
They
to our website, questspacecapital.com.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Larry and Tony, for being here with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Lisa.
Lisa. Great to be here.
Absolutely. And I do want to take a moment to thank Guideforce for hosting these sessions. You can learn more about Guideforce at guideforce.com. And we'll see you next time on the Tech and Space Leader Show.